welcome to Canceled. We are back. I know we missed a week, but we're back, and holy shit are we back.
Yeah,
because
with a vengeance.
This show is wild. We're watching John from Cincinnati. This is episode 5 and 6. Brett VerVoort is with me. How we doing, Brett?
Doing great, Chris.
Yeah. How's life in the old Austin?
It's treating me very well. The heat is sweltering. I've never felt like wiping under my breasts more.
Yeah, it is a real under-tit hot out for
yeah,
certain.
I'm sweating out of crevices I didn't know I had.
Let's just jump in here. Now, obviously, episode 6 is the fucking meat and potatoes, right?
Yeah.
We'll get there. We have to get there. So let's get to episode 5.
We have to have the amuse-bouche of episode 5.
What I will say is an episode that is like it was a good episode, but man, Rebecca De Mornay's acting choices are interesting. I don't understand why she's reacting. So episode 5, Sean's mom has come back into town.
Yeah,
apparently Tina Blake is her name. Apparently she was a bit of a porn star, a bit of a prostitute, and she's back. I don't know why that makes Rebecca De Mornay react as if Jason Voorhees has come to town. She is like she's like getting a gun and peeking out the windows. Like what's happening?
I like the acting choices. What it reminded me of was Winona Ryder in like season 1, episode 1 of Stranger Things when she finds out Will's missing, and everyone's like, "Calm down, it's been like 5 hours," and she's like, "My son is in danger."
Yeah.
It was so big, but
very big.
I think it's just like it's like a very protective thing where she's worried that because like. So Sean's going through all this stuff, like he's getting more famous, but at the same time he's just like died and come back to life. So there's probably a lot of money involved. So she's worried that maybe Tina's come back into town to take advantage of Sean.
I get that that's what she thinks.
Yeah.
2, I'm not sure why there's a lot of money. Like, there doesn't seem to be any money. All Sean has done is broken his neck in a surfing contest.
Yeah.
He has not raking in the dough here.
No, and not to spoil too much of episode 6, but they make tuna fish sandwiches, and tuna fish sandwiches doesn't say, "Oh God,"
rolling in it. Yeah. So I also don't like everyone's treatment of the mom.
No.
Because basically she left Sean on the grandparents' doorstep and lit out. But she was a prostitute, I'm assuming drug addict alongside her drug addict baby daddy, who was not even in the country at the time she's given fucking birth. What do you want her to do? She did the right thing. She shouldn't be dragging that fucking baby to like trick appointments. It's insane.
Yeah, just like off site. Like it doesn't make any sense. I mean, like I think probably because there's a lot of stuff going on in the Yost family, they're probably projecting a lot of their inner family drama on her.
Sure.
Because she's like, she's the stranger come to town character, so you can project all kinds of shit and like scapegoat her for everything she's worth, which they're fully doing.
And I would like to say, has her shit way more together than fucking Butchie does. You see that car? She's got she's clearly
bought and paid for.
Still, for sure, she bought that car cash. That is like. She's clearly a success at whatever it is she's doing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Butchie, she's like, you can't let her anywhere near that boy. Butchie sees that boy all the time. He is currently a heroin addict. It's not even like...
Yeah.
I mean, granted, recently he's been clean because of John or whatever, but up until a week ago, he was a heroin addict, and you were like, why don't you go see your fucking son sometimes?
Yeah.
This woman is just coming into town, a successful businesswoman, and apparently they have to hide him in the back of the shop. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know why she was so defensive, but I think that's just her natural instinct when it comes to Sean is to be just like this overly protective person because she's like fielding him from Mitch and she's fielding him from Butchie's craziness. So she's like, let's build that wall, and that wall is me. But yeah, it's pretty wild. But we do find out in episode 5 that Tina is working with bad boy Link.
It's Luke Perry, right?
It's Luke Perry's character.
No one knows that guy's name. Apparently, at one point, I found out he had stinkweed written on the back of his shirt, and I was like, "Is that a brand?" But it would be weird. It's got to be a brand, but like, who wears a button-down plaid shirt with just the word stinkweed on the back left shoulder? It's like not even where the brand would be. It's weird.
I mean, someone's got to be paying for it, right?
I can only assume. But here's the thing: I'm not sure she's super working with him. I think he hired her as a prostitute. She showed up and found out who it was. I don't think she knew going in, it's, Luke Perry, there's some shit going on with my kid. Yeah. I think she showed up to render services as a prostitute.
Well, she knew him from when he worked with Butchie.
Sure, so I get that, but I don't know that she knew who that phone call was from.
Yeah.
Because she kind of showed up and there was like a little bit of surprise. Also, there's also a line where he says, "I feel like I'm meeting Babe Ruth." And she says, "Does Babe Ruth fuck a bunch of people at the same time?" Which made me laugh real hard. Can we talk about, and I think it actually is the beginning of the next episode, but can we discuss, that just while we're talking about the mom's porn career, the name of the porno that she was in?
Oh,
which is
gosh, what was
Moist Thighs, Pink Bottoms.
Yeah. That's some art house
Could
shit.
you have not found, like, seriously, can you, like, not Google pornography and come up with a name that makes sense?
Yeah.
Moist Thighs?
Well, it gives you a taste of what you're going to see. It's very visual. I don't know. I'm just like, every time someone pitches like a fake porn title, it's always like a movie pre-existing parody.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't like, oh no, we're not trying to be clever. You're going to see some moist thighs,
here's the
big
thing.
bottom.
I get it if it was right to the point. If it was just like, she's in Dick Sucking Horrors 7 or whatever, it makes sense to me. But moist, I'll give you an example. When I was in high school, a friend of mine was like, I got a porno magazine. I'll bring it in. You can borrow it or whatever. And I was like, he's got a Penthouse or a Playboy or whatever. We're in the library. He hands me a magazine. It's just called Pussies and Assholes. And it's like right to the goddamn point. And I was like, we're in public. You got to slide. He's like, just waving it at me.
Anyway. Not even a jugs.
Yeah. Anyway, so, she is somehow tied in with him at this point, but not, I don't know. We'll find out how tied in, I guess, at some point. Kai is
dealing with Rebecca De Mornay.
He's crazy, but also Kai is, like, reacting jealously, because this is coming on the heels of her and Butchie sleeping together, right?
Yeah.
And clearly that was some, like, kind of past, he missed the prom, like, there's some long lost whatever happening there. But she's reacting kind of crazy as well. Mm-hmm. Because, like, she's reacting in a way that she's like at one point she sees Butchie and her in the car together, Butchie and Tina in the car together, and she's like all fucking freaked out. Now she's like, get out of here, whatever. You like that's the mother of his child. Like he has to speak to her. Now, granted, we'll find out he speaks to her horrifically in the next episode, but we'll get there.
Yeah, but I mean, I can see that where like if she did really have a big crush on him in high school and it was this whole thing, there's a lot of emotional baggage there. So if he leaves like the next day, and literally the next day, he's in with this porn star and she's feeling insecure because she's like, well, I wasn't in Moist Thighs, Pink Asses. I'm not the pussy equivalent of Babe Ruth. I'm just Kai.
I get that. I guess that kind of makes sense. Now, what else is going on in this episode is Cass. It was right. Is the original blonde that was with Luke Perry?
Yes.
Now has John staying with her in the hotel, and he in this episode and again in the next, he says some things that I don't remember being said to him.
No, I think...
Now, obviously, in the next episode, that's a much bigger thing. But, like, in this episode, there's a moment where he says, like, you need your camera, Cass, or something to that effect. And I don't remember that being said to him. Like, it's like the first time he's kind of saying his own dialogue. Like,
from the first episode on, like, it's like AI software getting more self-aware, where John's learning and he's able to, like, express himself independently. And then as we find out later, even more so. But yeah, he and Cass have some interesting dialogue happen because she's like basically like, I don't work with Luke Perry's character anymore. I'm poor. I can't afford this hotel room. Here's my tit. Levitate.
That was so weird too. I didn't like that moment because like he's like got his hand on her cheek or whatever in his weird John way, and she tries to be like, yeah, I'll let you touch my she says something earlier in the episode about how like I can't play on my sexual like. Basically, she's like, I don't have any money, and I can't fuck my way for money anymore, so, like, I need to make this movie or whatever. But she, like, takes his hand, puts it on his tit, and it's like, just levitate so I can film it. That'll be, like...
That's the movie.
That's the movie or whatever. And then he doesn't do anything. She's like, get your hand off me.
Yeah.
Well, you put his hand on you. He was not holding your tit a minute ago.
I don't know. She had, like, this whole, like, I'm from the Midwest, and I don't get anything for free, so here's my boob.
That was such a weird thing, too, where it's like... she throws in out of nowhere, like, my father would go off to work and then need us to send him a bus ticket home from Las Vegas, so apparently, like, gambling problems or whatever.
So I guess she's, like, used to sort of making her own way, and so she doesn't believe in getting something for nothing. So she thinks...
She can barter a titty, I guess?
She thinks with John, and John's not about that. No. And so she's like, oh, dang, well, I guess I have to film things.
I have to make this movie, which is just, like... walking down like the Venice beach of Imperial Beach or whatever, and like there's street performers and there's like luchadors, there's a wrestling ring or whatever. At one point, there's like 45 people just watching a girl hippie dance. You know, like you know what I mean when I say hippie dance, right? Where it's just like that's really bad dancing.
Yeah,
she's just.
Twirling
in a sundress, like that's all, and like kind of hopping on like from foot to foot. There's like 50 people watching that.
They're probably rolling.
Oh, they gotta be. There's gotta be a lot of drugs.
It was interesting though because she's like, I can't afford this hotel room anymore. I need to make money. And then like literally the next episode, she's raiding that mini bar.
She hits that mini bar so hard. She must have spent like $50 on
I know. I was like, you have no money. Just go to the corner store, get a full size Snickers for like $3.
She gets fucking room service. I was like, who is paying for any of this? At least have like John cough up another credit card or something.
I know.
So that's all kind of happening. We don't really see the hotel guys at all this episode. They will come back later. We see Hawaii. I don't remember his name. Vinny? I think it's Vinny?
Yeah.
Whatever his name is. The guy from Deadwood, the drug dealer, and his dumb crony.
The guy who looks like he's from the Shot in Us.
Yeah. He should be putting his whole fist in his mouth.
Yes.
He says something about he's going to give up Hawaii.
Yeah, give up the territory. But he knows someone over there
is going to take that
as a sign that he needs to like wipe him out completely.
Well, he says like, well, first off, what he says is what he says to his dumb friend who is the friend like I know he's like slow, right?
He's like slow, but in a lovable way.
I mean, he's but also like, so he says, "What do you see?" And he's like, "I see stars and clouds." He's like, "A plane going to nowhere."
But then again, I know
a plane going who knows where.
I know very intelligent people with no imagination, so that's
fine. But what is weird is he says, so he sees that, and then he goes, "What I see is," and then the other guy says, "What I see is bloodshed," and his friend goes, "Bloodshed, boarding the plane to nowhere. Where are you going, Bloodshed?" And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he says that he's going to give up Hawaii, but
Moana. Like the movie.
It's definitely not Moana.
No, it was definitely Moana. Because I remember thinking it, I was like, oh, like the movie? Like the Disney film Moana?
That I love and I've cried at multiple times. That being said, and he says like, but he's going to take that to think that I'm going to kill him, so he's going to have to come here and kill me first.
Yeah.
Which is, like, interesting that they're still trying to keep his backstory alive, even though I don't care at all. Like, honestly, like, you're already here. You just hang out here and play the saxophone. That's more interesting for you.
Yeah.
And then, hold on.
I don't know. It just, like pervading theme in the show is just, like, it's really just, like, onslaught after onslaught affecting this family. So they have to create, once like one problem is sort of solved, it's like we have to create another threat. We have to create another threat. There's more danger. There's more stuff happening.
Rebecca De Mornay finds a gun, but Kai comes over and takes the gun from her in a moment where I thought for a second she was just going to shoot. She was going to end up accidentally shooting Kai.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. She gets the gun away from her. There's also a line that's important in this episode because it plays into the next, and I believe it's this episode for sure. Butchie goes over to see his mom to talk her into letting Sean see Tina, his mom.
Yeah.
And she's like, he says to her, like, I think she's going to do something stupid. She, like, if she doesn't get it to you, she might off herself. And Rebecca De Mornay says, "Who doesn't think about killing themselves? Who who?" She's like, "So what? Who doesn't think about killing themselves? Who doesn't think about it every single day of their life?" And I was like, "Ooh, Jesus, I don't think about it every single day. Like, it's popped up every once in a while."
Yeah.
But that's obviously going to play into the next episode.
You get an ice cream headache, you're like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah. Fucking, it's too hot, but I have to mow the lawn because the landlord's coming. God damn it, I'll just
kill myself.
Yeah. But she agrees to let Tina see Sean.
Yeah, but he's asleep.
But actually just look at him. Like, not get to talk to him or whatever. Just look at him while he's sleeping, quote unquote. Which, by the way, you open that door and you see your son, who's supposed to be asleep, but he's just got his hands behind his head.
Yeah.
Like, no one sleeps like that. If you open that door and be like, you would just be like, oh, you're not you're for sure not asleep. You can just open your eyes.
It's like how your uncle reclines by the pool. It's like head behind,
hands behind the head. Yeah.
Very leaned back, and then like just his eyes closed.
Just his eyes closed. Yeah. Yeah, it is how a child would pretend to sleep. So like when you see that, it's like, oh no, he might as well be going like honk, shoo, like.
And I know we've ragged on the actor who plays Sean.
Terrible acting,
but
boy.
Yeah, but it's just like everyone's like, oh, this is great.
Yeah,
even his pretending to sleep is not believable.
It's laughable. So she like looks in, sees her. I will say this about the casting. The mom, whoever the actress is playing the mom, could very easily be Sean's mom. Like, physically, they have like the same kind of weird upturned nose. Mm-hmm. So she eventually agrees to let her see her, but only see her. And that's kind of like it. Like, there's not a lot happening in this episode other than Tina comes back to town.
It's definitely one of those episodes that like they functionally have to put in. Like, this episode is to set up the next episode.
Absolutely.
So I think it's definitely a lot slower, like compared to some of the crazy stuff we've seen before. And then we get into the next episode, which we're about to jump into, and it's just like,
whoo!
Yeah.
But before we jump into that real quick, the other thing that we learned in this episode, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, Butchie started shooting dope at 12.
Yeah. That's young.
Because his mom says like, you were fucking stupid. I thought you were dumb when you started shooting dope, but you were stupid fucking before that. You were dumb at 12. And I was like, oh, you started shooting dope at 12. That's fucking weird. And she's like, I took all the acid in the world. I was never fucking as stupid as you. That is going to come into play. Remember that she took a bunch of acid.
Yes.
Also, not an excuse for what? Anyway, we'll get to it. We are in episode 6, John's visit, his visit day 5. Whoo boy! For starters, my first note was, for someone who has no money, she sure is raiding the minibars. The first thing I wrote.
Yeah. We both know that life. We're like, no, there's no way.
Yeah. She got like 2 bottles of booze and Kit Kats. You know how much that's like $40.
I know.
She's like, I don't think she's actually looking at what she filmed.
No, I don't understand what her process is, but I think it's like her staring at herself in the mirror, getting drunk and going,
Yeah.
God.
And then like,
when will the inspiration come to me?
Pretending that like, she's like, ooh, drum circle. And then she starts like playing the lid of her fucking room service, like a drum for some reason. We cut to Rebecca De Mornay. She's at her house. She's yelling at Mitch on the phone. Interestingly, we don't see Mitch. There's a couple like one-sided conversations on the phone in this episode.
Well, for this whole episode feels like her character Sissy having one-sided conversations.
Well, there is a moment in the previous episode where she's talking to Mitch because they have apparently also slept together.
Yeah.
They wake up in bed together when
and Mitch is like, if you just listen to me.
Mitch is such a piece of shit. Because she gets the phone call from Tina. Tina calls the house first in the previous episode, and she's like, don't you fucking come to this house or whatever. And she's like,
opening the window.
She's acted all like fucking Ray Liotta at the end of Goodfellas. She's like fucking terrified. She comes back and she's telling like, Tina's here. She wants to see fucking, she's going to want to see Sean, blah, blah, blah. She's like yelling at him. She goes to light a cigarette, and he's like, don't smoke in here. And she's like, but it's her house, right? He's not living there anymore. It's granted, it's his weird tree house or whatever. Yeah. She's like, but he's like, that doesn't give you the right to poison me. What the fuck are you talking about? At one point, he says, like, if you light that cigarette, you'll see me walking down the driveway. Good. She just told you to leave. Like, he is such a... And then I will say this. He tells her, like, look, I actually did levitate. Like, it's not a brain tumor. Other people have seen it.
I know I told you I was dying without...
without having any fucking research
But that
done.
cigarette will really do the trick.
But he tells her, like, I levitated, and she's like, and, like, what do you want me to do with this information? Which is kind of funny, actually.
And fair.
Yeah. Valid point. So she's yelling at him on the phone in the beginning of the next episode, and she's like, that fucking whore slut mom showed up in here.
She takes dick.
Yeah,
blah, blah.
Cover her face, blah, blah, blah. And then
Sean comes out, and he is upset. And she's like, "Oh, did you hear?"
Did you hear? She's like, "I already knew about. I knew my mom was a porn star here." And he throws wet, moist thighs, pink bottoms at her.
Yeah, it's still in the wrapper. Because a friend of his gave it to it, which is exactly how that would happen.
In a pre-internet world, for sure, your friend shows you.
For sure, your friend shows you the porn your mom's in.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's like, "No, you don't understand." And when he is such a bad actor, but he's like, you hurt my feelings.
Not her.
You
did that.
And then he goes away with a skateboard.
And that wrecks her.
Destroys her in a way that I don't 100%, like, I get she's very protective of this boy and he doesn't want to hurt her feelings. But it's not until later that, like, it kind of makes sense. But in this moment, I was like, a 12-year-old boy said you hurt his feelings, like, they're kind of sensitive. Like, it's not going to be the end of the fucking world.
That's every child.
Yeah. She's acting like he's never coming, like he's run away. He didn't run away. He just took his skateboard and left. He's not going to stay home all day.
It's just, I feel like it's like a inherited trait in this family that everybody is literally drowning in their own self-pity sometimes, where they can't see outside themselves. So I think just like that, and she's like, oh, I disappointed Shawnee, and he's like the only one that I really feel like I have a connection with, and then I must be such a piece of shit, and blah, 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 blah.
And she's not wrong, but we'll get there.
We'll get there. John teams up with
Vietnam Joe.
Well,
Go ahead.
Oh, well, Vietnam Joe, it might have been in the previous episode.
I think it was, and we didn't talk about that. So in the previous episode, he goes to the VA bar or whatever with a gun to confront the bartender because he is still of the belief that
it's a practical joke.
When he found John all bloody and whatever from getting stabbed, and then he's miraculously healed, he is of the mindset that it was a practical joke being played on him because of a story about his time in Vietnam that he had told the bartender at this VA bar. So he goes to confront him, like, how could you do that? Why would you, use that story I told you in confidence to fucking...
And the bartender's like, you never told me that story.
Talking about, yeah. It's not even like the bar... It's such a good choice, too, because it's not like the bartender is like, I didn't do that. I wouldn't betray your confidence. He's just like, you never told me that story, you crazy old hillbilly. Like, yeah, which I enjoyed.
I'll give you a glass of Clamato juice.
Yeah, I can't give you any booze while you're holding that gun. But I also like that the other guys there have, like... I don't even know what that toy is. It's like a big mouth Billy Bass, but it's just a hand that curses at you. It's like a fist that when you push a button, it goes like, hey, fuck you, or whatever. And he's like 60-year-old vets in the bar. And it's like, it's funny, right?
That is pretty funny.
It is pretty funny.
For an old man toy.
I would probably get one of those.
You get those for a grandpa for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so John teams up with Vietnam Joe and is like, the guy who stabbed me, we need to get the police involved.
He says, like, justice must be meted out. The Vato must get his comeuppance, he says.
Yeah.
And then he tells him that we should get the police involved. Now, Vietnam Joe is growing, like, 5 acres worth of pot in the fucking woods or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's not super about getting the police involved, but then he says we should get Bill involved.
Because he's a retired police officer.
And he says Bill should be involved. Zippy told Bill we'd be over.
Yeah.
Which is the bird. Now, this is again another example of him not speaking only in parroted dialogue, right?
Yeah.
Zippy told Bill we'd be over is not something anybody said before.
Yeah.
So he's really starting to be able to, like, communicate his own thoughts, which is going to be very important in this episode.
Yeah.
Which is also interesting. To another point, when he goes to Bill's house with Vietnam Joe, Which, by the way, I like Vietnam Joe's immediate question as soon as he gets there. It's like, what is your position on guests smoking herb in your house?
Yeah.
And Bill's like, I'm against it, which I enjoy. But I also enjoyed it because it's just in his house. Later on, he smokes a fucking fat joint with him in the van. It's totally fine.
But hey, it's in his house.
Yeah.
His house with rules.
But John... So John is saying things. He's going, come on, Billy, or whatever. And Ed O'Neill's freaking out. Bill's freaking out because he's like, he's imitating my wife who's passed.
Yeah.
Which I didn't pick up on right away, that he was imitating his wife.
No, I think it was like a little, like the voice was maybe a little bit more effeminate in the Billy.
The Billy part for sure.
And then he starts talking directly to John, like his wife, like, should I believe this man, my wife?
Yeah.
Is this
he lying to me for his own agenda or whatever?
Yeah.
But also, Bill's threats to John
Very
are
specific.
fucking intense. Yeah. He's talking about, like, he's going to hold his fucking head under the water while he gurgles his last breath.
That's that ex-cop.
Yeah.
There it is.
For sure. But he's like, okay, I'll work with you, whatever. So Bill and Vietnam Joe and John are going to go try to find the guy who stabbed John. That's kind of their little story.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that Willie Garson has a fiance in this episode.
Yes, and that he is terrified of her, rightly so.
He should be. But also, we find that out in the line where he says, I'm terrified of my fiance.
Out of nowhere.
Out of fucking apropos of nothing. We don't know he has a fiance when he says that line. She has not come up. So for him to just say that out of nowhere, I was like, wait, what the fuck is happening? Then we meet her. She's played by Jennifer Grey. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Mm-hmm. She's a bitch.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, she isn't, right? Because one, it is a little weird that you are just hanging out with these crazy people at this motel all day.
Yeah, I just don't like the way they said homosexual psychopath.
Yeah.
Like one has to do with the other.
For sure. That was a little gross. He's got some mental problems.
For sure. But then Willie Carson's like, but he's also paying me $12,000 more
than I made it, whatever. So, like, that's the other part is, like, he is a lawyer. He's taking this client. Now, granted, I don't know why a lawyer would spend so much time, like, gardening. But, like...
Are those billable hours?
Yeah, I can only assume.
Yeah.
But when she is actually at the motel... She's like a real bitch about it. She's just like holding this newspaper over her son and being like,
sitting
this
there,
is so much fun.
Not even trying to help.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the guy with the broken wrist is scrubbing the fucking pool.
Yeah. And the doctor's like, what are you doing? You got duct tape.
I do also like two things about the Deadwood guy from Vietnam and Broken Wrist guy. I really enjoy their dynamic of like Broken Wrist guy, his feelings are hurt so much that he's like, you broke my hand, you won't even let me go to you won't get it fixed for me or whatever. Mm-hmm. That really bothers him. And I like how much the dude from Vietnam just wants somebody to talk to. At one point, he's like standing outside and the gay dude shows up with the flowers. Yeah. And he's like, oh, how are you this morning or whatever? How are you? And he's like, what the fuck you want? He's like, he's like, oh, it's just a pleasantry. And as he's leaving, he's like, I was talking to Hawaii on the phone. I was on the phone. And he's
Since
like,
you asked.
Okay. And he's like, well, don't ask if you don't want to know. Like, he's just so much wants like a buddy to talk to. It's just, I really enjoyed that moment. And he gets all pissed when the guy like doesn't pick up on that and leaves.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get more Bill Hawaii
I
energy.
feel like they're going to tie in together at some point. Well, they tie in. Oh, boy. Anyway, so let's get through what we need to get through to get to this episode.
So John and Vietnam Joe and Bill are in the van. They're waiting for the guy who stabbed.
Well, there's some other. Let's hold on to that for a minute.
Put a pin in
that for a second. Rebecca De Mornay goes to the shop looking for Sean.
Can't find him.
Can't find Sean. She finds Kai, and Kai basically tells her like, "Look, you're like." No one can help you because you won't see what's right in front of you or whatever. She goes, oh, what's that? And she's like, I wrote it down. She's like, whoever you don't drive away from you with your fucking bullshit is going to run away on their own anyway. Like,
yeah.
So she basically wants Tina to come back and actually see her son, like talk to her because she thinks that's what Sean wants. And it is what Sean wants. But she wants Butchie. She goes to Butchie to be like, try to, get Tina back here or whatever. You know where
Tina's like left town.
Tina's left town, but also and it's not funny. I don't like the way she's treated as a sex worker, but she's like crying in that car, sitting in a red light, and this dude in a truck pulls up next to her, and he just goes, "Hey, Tina, how's your ass?" Such a weird thing to say to another person.
So weird, but also speaks to her celebrity. Sure. If someone could recognize you on the street crying, and was like, "Oh, I've seen that crying face," then you've made it.
So her and Butchie have like a real the mom, not Tina, Butchie and his mom have a bit of a like.
They have a fight.
Have a bit of a fight because she's being fucking crazy, Rebecca Mornay, as she is.
Yeah, and keeps calling him an idiot and a moron and stuff like that.
He is all of those things.
He is all of those things.
But you don't need your mom telling you
and
that.
he's like, "Oh, I gotta get high. I just need to really get high right now.
I want to get twice as high as anybody's ever been high or whatever," but he's also not, right? He can't. He's not buying dope, and he's also, when he appears when he does get dope, it doesn't actually make him high.
Yeah.
But this I didn't enjoy. He calls Tina and people's reactions to her are so wild to me, because he calls her and is immediately like, "What the fuck?" He's just screaming at her, and she's like, "Butchie, what? The phone just rang." He's like, "I've been calling you for 20 minutes. I don't believe you." And then he starts out of nowhere. He's like, "What were you sucking some nigger's prick?" And I'm like, "Whoa, Butchie."
Yeah. He says it twice.
He says it 3 times.
Oh,
I noted it, by the way.
There was one I repressed.
But I was like, whoa, because now I don't like you. You've been likable this whole time, and now you're just like, there's been no... Butchie's a junkie, right? So it would be easy to write that character in this, like, vulgar,
They said some homophobic stuff, but it wasn't like...
And there's, like, some, like, kind of gross sexual stuff or whatever. But it's never been, like... mean-spirited so much until this moment. And I was like, well, fuck Butchie then. Yeah. Like, this is so gross. And it just came out of nowhere. And, like, it was just very strange to me. So I did want to bring that up.
And he's like, "You need to come back to town because Sean wants to see you. Sean's feelings are hurt."
And like, he's lost. We don't know where he is. Everybody, they're acting like he's back in the hospital or something from the neck. It's like they're having the same reaction to him having his fucking neck broken as they are his feelings.
And of course, Mitch is nowhere.
No, I haven't seen Mitch. Mitch is nowhere.
He has no idea this is happening.
No, he's surfing somewhere, because on the phone she's like, "Well, I hope you got some real life-changing curls," or whatever the fuck she says. Soul searchers, I think.
Soul searchers.
So there's like 90 things happening at once, right? Broken wrist guy is off with the doctor getting a cast put on his wrist. Vietnam Joe, Bill, and John are in the van. Kai is looking for Sean, which he eventually finds. He's skating somewhere.
Sissy is looking for the gun.
Sissy's trying to find her gun back because she knows Kai took it the night before, so she goes back to Kai's place and takes the gun. Yeah. This is where kind of everything changes a little bit, I think. Yeah. So in the van, they're having a little bit of a conversation. Bill's going to smoke a little weed. John says, better she tries to kill me than herself.
Kill me and fails, then shoot herself.
Or something to that effect, right? I wrote it down. I thought.
Yeah, and then he immediately passes out.
He says that, and then boom, head tilt to the side, and Bill's like, he's unconscious.
That's a real Sean fall asleep move.
Yeah.
Just really, head vibe. Oh, God, he's out.
We then see Sissy in her kitchen. She's got the gun. Yeah. And now John's at her window.
It was like, you think about killing yourself?
But what's funny is he's doing it to the style of a commercial we heard in the van previously. There was this like flooring commercial.
We have an offer for you.
Yeah. What we find out in this scene is he basically is like, are you thinking about killing yourself? Do you hate yourself? Are you thinking about blowing your brains all over that kitchen tile? Are you thinking about that because of the time when Mitch was away on a surfing trip and you were so full of acid, and Butchie had just won a contest at 13, and
you were so proud
of him that you walked into his room and caught him flipping his skippy, I think he says, which is jerking off. He makes the jerk off moment. that you sat down and said, let me show you how that's done, and did a little blah. Like, so we find out Miss Sissy jerked off Butchie when he was 13.
When she was tripping on acid.
When she was tripping on acid. Been on acid a number of times in my life. I have never molested a child while on acid. It's never been like it's a weird thing to blame it on.
Yeah.
Like, acid isn't the like.
Is it the combination of acid and pride?
And pride, yeah.
That you're like, no.
And she's like, have you hated your life ever? Have you hated yourself and thought about killing yourself every moment since?
And that's why you turned into the biggest ball buster that ever was.
Yeah. And he's like, well, we have an offer for you. How about you don't? How about you continue to go on in pain and hating your life every moment, but spare Sean finding your dead body on the kitchen floor.
Yeah.
And in such, get his love. Now, run that gun under the water. Baptize that pistol, which she runs the gun under the water. Now, we should point out, one, I don't think that would just make a gun not work.
Well, also, she tried to shoot at John briefly, and there were no bullets.
Well, I was going to say, the other thing is Kai says later in the episode, like, he goes to Butchie, he's like, your mom took your gun back. It's fine that she has the gun because I took the bullets out of it, but I don't think it's good that she wants the gun.
Absolutely.
So what we've now see is one extended dialogue of John just talking, not just one little weird line, right? Mm-hmm. He is able to give a full soliloquy.
And astral project.
That's exactly what I'm going to say. He can be in multiple places at once, right? I don't think that has come up yet.
No.
Okay. I'm glad I'm not crazy about that. Tina shows up to make her
she shows
tuna
up,
fish sandwich.
Yeah, she shows up, and it turns into this weird hosting thing.
Yeah, that was so weird.
I'm not going to make the tuna fish, but I'll just leave
I'll leave the stuff back. Because Butchie calls Sissy and is like, Tina's here. She wants you to host a lunch for her. And like,
what is this, the Red Hat Society?
Yeah, also, Tina didn't say that. Why is Butchie suddenly this genteel? He was just throwing out N-bombs like 5 minutes ago.
I think Kai said it. Because she had found Sean, and she's like, listen, like, I can bring him to talk to Tina, but I don't think, like, they want to have a conversation, and then Sissy comes in and freaks out on them, because that would just hurt him more,
right? Which
is totally fair.
Sure.
So it turns into this weird host a luncheon thing.
That kind of happens.
Yes.
She shows up. Tina's like, how does he like his mayonnaise? Or how does he like his tuna fish? And she's like, salt, pepper, pickles, lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise.
That's how I make it. I don't know if he likes it.
It's just such a weird little scene.
Yeah.
And then we see her making the tuna fish. She's not measuring shit. She's just like splash, splash, slurp. Yeah.
Which is honestly,
so many. Also, you're making tuna fish. Who measures shit when you make tuna fish?
No, it's always been improv.
Yeah. You're playing jazz when you make a tuna fish. They don't have much of a conversation. No. Right? Sean's like, should we make a sandwich for my gram or whatever? They don't really say much, but they're in the same room together.
It's hard because, I mean, they haven't seen each other in so long.
I think it's weird that Butchie isn't there. Like, only in that you are able to hold a conversation with both of them, so maybe you can sort of bridge a conversation between these two people.
Yeah, he runs off with Kai.
Well, first off, he's just kind of looking outside. I also laughed when Sissy's up in the treehouse, and then she comes downstairs. She sees Butchie she's like sneaking. They might as well be playing like tinkling piano music.
Yeah.
And then like she sees him, and then runs back up the stairs, also in like a creepy move, like kind of hunched over like a troll. That made me laugh. So that happens. We see that. We go back to the van, I think, at this point. Right?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, no, the other thing that happens here that I found funny, the doctor comes back with broken wrist guy who's gotten his cast. And
he's immediately
proud of his cast. He's proud of his cast, and he's proud. I just saw a friend of mine, and she had her daughter with a little girl. I don't know how old she is, maybe 5 or 6 or whatever. But she's got her first loose tooth.
You said it like you had a loose
I said it 100%. Loose. She has her first loose, and she looked at me and she was like, how many wiggly teeth do you have? It was the first sentence, the first thing she said to me.
That's adorable.
And one, it's super adorable, but broken wrist guy has the same like pride about himself where he's like, oh yeah, just, Had a little medical service. Nothing to be afraid of, nothing to be afraid of, but you should I don't want to do it every day, but it's not bad.
He goes up to Hawaii and he's like, would you do the
honors of signing my cast? And I am mad at this moment because they do not show us what he writes on that cast.
And it seems funny.
And I bet it's mean.
Yes.
It's probably mean, but I also want to know.
Yes.
So hopefully in the next episode we'll find out.
It's just drawing of a dick or something.
100% is the only thing I would ever find on anyone's cast is a dick.
Yeah.
I also I like to do that when you sign a tip on like an iPad. I often will just draw a dick instead of sign my name.
Yeah. Just do like a wristwatch on the
anytime
cast.
I'm at like a museum, like gift shop, there's always like a like a mini Zen garden or whatever. I'm always drawing. I draw dicks on everything. That being said, he shows back up at the motel.
Yes.
So now there's a lot of people here. They're having a barbecue. Willie Garson.
Fiance,
Luis Guzman, gay psychopath, Hawaiian broken wrist, the doctor. They're having a little cookout in the parking lot. I think Kai and Butchie have shown back up at this point because they've left the other house.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people kind of milling about. Now, there was one other thing where he says, the gay guy says to, Luis Guzman says to the gay guy, like, I find raking to be very relaxing.
Let's him do it like twice.
And he's like, you want to try? And the guy's like, yeah, sure. And he does. He like moves the rake twice and Luis goes, all right, that's enough. And he just takes the rake back. It was so weird. But at that moment, Hawaii comes out of his hotel room with a sax, plays a few beats of fucking Coltrane's favorite things, and then just walks back inside. He goes, that's how I relax. And then walks back inside.
I don't need to do drugs.
Yeah.
Because the music gets me so high.
Which I just was bringing up because the saxophoning is going to be important.
Yeah.
So that has all happened. We go back to the van. Do we actually go back to the van at that point? I don't think so. Well, we do for a minute because that's after the speech. It's after the speech to go back to the van. So all this is happening, and then suddenly John is also there.
Yeah.
And John is there, but I don't think anyone can actually see him, right?
More projecting.
Right, but what also what's weird is that, like, when he astral projected before, she could see him. So this is something like another level of that where
he can decide if he wants to be seen or not.
Exactly. And he starts to give this speech that is all right. It's interesting. Mm-hmm. It's long.
Angels in America.
It's confusing.
Yeah.
But I do think it puts us in a position to say that maybe John is Jesus.
He's talking
about my father a lot.
Yeah.
So the speech, I think I have a lot of it. I'm not going to do the whole thing because it is long. But there's a lot of stuff like, if my words are yours, can you hear my father? Can Bill know my father, keeping his eye on him? Can I bone Kai and Butchie know my father instead? My father's shy doing his business. Kai helps my father dump out. Like it is all over the place. Bill takes a shot. Shawnee is much improved. Joe is a doubting Thomas. Joe will save, not Alaman.
So that's like foreshadowing.
Joe will bring his buddies home. This is how Freddie relaxes. Cup of Joe and Winchell's variety dozen. Mitch catches a good wave. Mitch wipes out. Mitch wipes out Sissy. Like, it's just like, it's partially kind of recapping things, but also a lot of talk about his, like, can you hear my father? My father's words. The word is the circle on the wall with the line.
Yeah. Prophecy.
At one point, he walks into the hotel room and picks up what I'm assuming is the ghost of the guy who raped the homosexual dude when he was a child, but also killed himself in that hotel room. Because it's just like this gray kind of corpse body that doesn't talk, but it's still like alive. And he puts him on a bench. And then there's also moments in that where it's like, I'm trying to find, it's like Barry comes on so-and-so's face or whatever, because like he was the kid that got molested in the thing. Mr. Rollins comes in Barry's face. My father runs the Mega Millions. What? So like, your father set up for gay dude to win the lottery so that he could buy this hotel so that all these people have this place to be together.
It's prophecy.
It blew my mind a little bit, because now what's also happening is other people are showing up here but aren't actually showing up here. So, like, at one point he says, like, Bill doesn't bump his head on the staircase. And then in the parking lot of the motel is the staircase from Bill's house with, like, the bubble wrap.
Yeah.
He climbs the staircase, starts to play the harmonica, but Hawaii's got his saxophone, and they play a duet to each other while a bunch of fur is big, mud is big, the stick is big, the word is big, fire is huge, the wheel is huge, the line and circle are big. On the wall, the line and circle are huge. On the wall, the man at the wall makes a man from the circle and the line. The man at the wall makes a word on the wall from the circle and the line. The word on the wall, here's my father.
You know what? This is some Twin Peaks.
It is some Twin Peaks ass shit for sure.
Yeah, this is...
The zeros and one make the word in Cass's camera. So, like, Cass is there. All these people are showing up. It is definitely, I would say, the most sort of esoteric, metaphysical weirdness that the show has done yet.
Yeah, the language is always, the way that people talk has always been a little bit, like, elevated, a little bit lifted. But this is definitely them leaning full force into Twin Peaks.
Oh, yeah, but also I would say... specifically at the hotel, the way people talk is even more lifted than other places.
Yes.
Because, like Kai and Sissy just kind of talk, like, they yell at each other or whatever. But when you're there, Luis Guzman, the gay dude, even Hawaii and those guys, when they're at it seems like the location, people tend to speak more elevatedly while they're at this hotel.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of spiritual significance.
For sure. What did you think of the speech? Did you actually like? Because I actually, as weird and fucking whatever as it was, I was like gripped. I was like, what's happening? I'm into this.
Well, it's just one of those things. Like, I don't want this show to put itself in the position where it writes a check that its ass can't cash.
Sure.
Where it's like, we're going to give this very highbrow speech, and then you just kind of have to puzzle it out the next 4 episodes. I don't know. I think it was a little too... I think it might have been a bit too much, but that's just because it's such a jump in tone from the rest of the show.
Wild jump.
I'm a super huge Twin Peaks fan. I don't want to say, like, oh, I'm not. But it's just, like, it's elevating so fast. It's like someone really pumped the gas on it. And I don't know what God's plan for this family is.
For sure. But also... So I have this. I found like a John from Cincinnati fan site where they have broken down this speech like line by line with a bunch of like theories and Bible quotes and whatever. So I'm not going to go into all that, but I'll share the link for sure. So yeah, I'll tweet out the link when this episode comes out.
Hilarious.
But there is a lot of like. So here at the very beginning it says. John 14:24, whoever does not love me does not keep my words, yet the word you hear is not mine, but that of the Father who sent me. So that's in reference to, can I bone Kai and Butchie know my father instead? So I don't know how that's
not really a direct...
I hear you. But I mean, there is like, so there'll be one line and there's like 5 paragraphs.
Yeah.
It's like very heavily broken down.
That's like how there's like all these like graduate students and doctorates and they're like still breaking apart like old copies of Middlemarch. They're like, what does it mean?
Hold on. There is this, in my father's word, Tina raises Sean at lunch. And where is it? There was something I thought... Yeah. In Cass's camera, Butchie lays the cord out for Barry, and Mr. Rollins watches, and he doesn't come on Barry's face. Where was it? There was something at the end. 9/11 is big, but not every towelhead is eradicated. In his words, we are coming, 9/11-14. 9/11-14.
Yeah, I don't like the towelhead phrase either.
Well, also, what was weird there is I don't remember somebody else saying it to him. So, like, there's a point where... Cass and John are in the hotel, and Cass is like, she's like moving the towels around. She's like, "Oh, you like this hat? Blah blah blah. Look at me!" And she's like, kind of wraps a towel around her head. She's just being goofy.
Her sense of humor is strange.
Well, she's not funny.
No.
There's that.
Yeah.
And then John says the towel heads will be eradicated, and I was like, "Whoa, who?" I don't remember anybody saying that. Maybe like it does sound like something maybe Bill would have said, but I don't remember it happening. So this speech is happening. It's going on for some time. There was one line at the end. I'm trying to find. Where is it? In my father's, there's a lot you will not. Oh, right. This is the end. And Freddie sees Bill much improved, so on. So this is all happening. In Cass's camera to come, my father stares not Alamon down. Not Alamon, if you apply the Spanish translations theory to it, it could mean that not all men are twisted like the one who stabbed John. Anyway, this whole speech happens. Yeah. There's people, places they shouldn't be. We're back to the van. Bill is now in the van with John, even though he was on the parking lot playing harmonica. They're both asleep. John is awake, and John kind of wakes them up. Joe and Bill. And Bill says, I feel like I'm playing my harp, like he's moving his jaw like he's playing his harmonica. And at the end, the last thing John says is, you will not note my father's word, nor remember Cass's camera, but you will not forget what we did here.
Yeah.
So he kind of like, it's him saying like, you're going like, all of that was important, but none of you will remember it. It was him kind of doing the Men in Black
restart.
Thing.
Yeah.
This episode took such a weird turn that the fact we find out that Sissy jerked off Butchie at one point
gets buried almost.
Forgotten. I don't even, it's like by the end of the episode, I was like, oh, right, she jerked off her son at 12 years old.
Anna's never forgotten it.
There's a moment, I feel like that's something you don't forget.
No, for sure. But I mean, like, it's become a defining
thing of her character. Yeah. There's a moment where Kai is trying to get Sean out of he's skating, and he's like, come on, we got to go to your Sissy's house because your mom's coming to have the host a lunch or whatever the fuck. Lunch. And he's like, I don't want to, he's mad at Sissy. And she goes, who financed your video herself? Who got you into that contest? Who's been there every day for your entire life? And I wanted her to be like, and if you play your cards right, you might get a little HJ action out of this.
Yeah.
Which is
but I think it's like one of those things like where if Sissy didn't feel like she failed Butchie so badly, would she have been as good of a grandmother?
There is an argument to be made that Butchie's molestation led directly to him being a drug addict.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
100%. Because someone's got to show you how to use a needle, and someone's got to show you how to use it. Some things you can't learn on your own.
No, I will tell you this from experience. You can absolutely learn how to jerk off on your own. That is something.
Well,
you might pick up tricks.
I had to Google it. So I Googled it, and those ladies at Cosmo, they have a lot to say.
I think we only have 4 episodes of this show left, right? There's 10 episodes, which I also think is partially why it's like foot on the gas. Maybe they found out they're
halfway through the season that they're like
getting canceled. So let's try to get somewhat of an ending. I hope that's where we're heading.
So it's one of those things too with the speech where it's like if they're laying all this sort of prophecy down, how are these next 4 episodes going to shake out, and how much of this are they going to get to?
Absolutely. I also think there's a part. Somewhat, and it's a wild choice. You know, sometimes you're watching a show, particularly a show where it's like, this was maybe more so of a thing in the past, but with like a Lost or something where like TV hadn't always been so serialized where you have to watch every episode to know what's happening. This is definitely pre-binge. But what I mean to say is shows would do kind of a catch up at one point where it's like, oh, if you haven't been watching, if you watch here, we'll kind of catch you up so that you can kind of jump in. This felt like them trying to do a bit of a catch-up, but in, like, the most John from Cincinnati way possible.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, we're going to tell you everything that's happened. It's not going to make any more sense hearing it all at once than it did watching it out full.
Yeah.
But here you go.
Someone's just like, who's his father?
Yeah.
Who's his dad?
And by the way, they're there. Everyone ends up in this parking lot. Like Mitch, the whole family is like lined up at one point.
That's something that's like continually happened. Is like everybody leaves. There's all these story arcs, and then it always ends up back at the motel.
Right, which I think is why the line "My father runs the Mega Millions" is their way of saying that was purposely set in motion to have this hotel. If he hadn't done that, then this hotel wouldn't be this central point, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's all kind of important. Halfway through the show, are you still enjoying it?
I'm enjoying it more so now that it's weirder.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm enjoying it more so, but it's still like I think what's always tripped me up about it is the way that people talk to each other. Like the characters themselves feel very grounded, but it's just like the way that they express themselves and express their emotions are just like so big. They're so caricature-esque. Like Butchie turned out to be a real piece of shit in this episode. And then like all the people in the hotel still talk like they're in a Greek play. Mm-hmm. Like, so I think something about the language and it being not a period piece, being a contemporary piece, feels out of place. I feel like I'm being told a parable.
I'll buy that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I don't go to church for a reason.
Fair point. The other thing that's not important, but I'm wondering if it will be, when Willie Garson is meeting his fiance for grapefruit in the morning, they're at this coffee shop / internet cafe.
And this guy runs a website
about the Yost family. The waitress is Trixie from Deadwood. Mm-hmm. So that was also always fun to see her. Why she like put her shirt over that weird dude's head, I don't understand.
Clearly this is a
playful
rapport that they
obviously.
have. Because she wet willied him.
Yeah, after. And he doesn't like it. She's just bullying him.
No one likes a wet willy.
Yeah. But he is in the parking lot at the end. So I'm wondering if we're going to see more of him. Because it seems like if you're there, you're kind of important.
Yeah, more hits on the website.
Anything you want to plug?
When is this coming out?
This will be out on Thursday, tomorrow.
Okay. So the upcoming Wednesday, the 28th of August, you can catch me and Karina Magyar's new show Slap Bracelet at the Barrel of Fun, Alamo Mueller.
Awesome. You should definitely check that out. Come to the Sting first Wednesday of the month. This one is September 4th, I believe.
Yeah.
So come to that. We've got a bunch of good comics. I am at Chris Cubis on all social media. You are
at Twisted Middle Kid.
There you go. Rate, review, subscribe. Please give us 5 stars. Leave a nice little review on iTunes. It really helps. And we will see you next week.
Woo.